What's up guys, Cloudie here checking in from the America server, and this video is gonna be about TechnoMagic gears for DPS and like which lines to select. Now in my previous video, which is about crafting away my 200,000 plus crystals, a lot of you guys were asking like which lines to use for which characters or which ones to build at all. So I guess that's why we are going into this now. The way I did it is that I selected an example piece of all the lines that I believe are worth building and put them into my storage so we can just go through them easily. If you feel I left out one or the other piece or line, then you can let me know in the comments. I'm happy to hear your thoughts, but these are the ones that I have I feel like are good and that I have heard information about. So let's just get to it. Let's see what kind of pieces we have, and then I will give some explanation like why they are actually good or not. The first two will be these two pieces. Here a quick note: when you're building your TechnoMagic gear, of course the earrings for DPS will be the best part because those give you flat attack and that's like your most important stat. Also, pretty much every DPS uses the Galgoria set. I don't really think anyone has tried any other sets because they are mostly support stats. So for the set bonus, you always use Galgoria. But let's see which pieces we have. The first one is increases damage dealt to enemies by 3% every 15 seconds, and this effect can be stacked up to maximum 12 times. So that's 36% over 3 minutes. Now this means that it's mostly effective in longer fights, but this one gives the highest amount of flat damage increase, and the TechnoMagic sets are on their own layer, which means that they multiply all your other bonuses. So this is really good. 36% is really high, but there is a penalty that you need to wait 3 minutes until it's fully in effect. So on shorter battles this may not work so well, but it doesn't have any other restrictions. So this one definitely the best line you can go for in many cases. The second one is increases damage by 25%, again on a separate layer, but your HP needs to be above 95%. Now this is active right from the beginning, but only if you have more than 95% health on yourself, which can be a problem, especially if you consider that the best DPS artifact right now is the Sword of Shakmi, which has a built-in health drain. And the information that's live in the top PvE guilds right now is that if you have a more than 2-star Shakmi sword, then this stops working. It's a bit hard to test out because it doesn't have any visible icon or anything, so you would have to guess from the damage that you are doing. But yeah, that's the live info in the top guilds right now. Yeah, it can be useful if you have like a Frey with a tough shield and like a lot of healing or like passive healing going on either through lifesteal. But yeah, if you have a Shakmi sword, then this becomes troublesome. So not exactly as good, or like could be better, but these two are definitely the winners in the TechnoMagic gear lines. So for your DPS you probably want either this or this one. Now we have a few outliners which I have also marked with these with locks, so we know them. So let's see, these are not as good but still can be useful in certain circumstances. First one, increases damage of normal attacks by 25%. So this is your auto attacks. Now there are some heroes that are reliant on their auto attacks and where most of their damage is coming from that. I was really hoping that this works for Chase, but I tested it out and sadly his damage is actually not coming from his autos but from his unique weapon and unique treasure combo, so it doesn't really work for him. However, it does work pretty well for Hilda if you are building like an auto attack constantly, an S2 version of her, and it works pretty well for Dark Lord Castle, who also relies heavily on his auto attacks. You can see a pretty big jump in DPS if you put this on a castle. You can test it out like on the training dummy. So yeah, for heroes there are of course others who are auto attack reliant, and for those type of heroes this is fairly decent. It doesn't have any other prerequisites, so that's kind of good. It's just that most heroes don't just do damage with their autos, so there is the limitation. Similar to that, increases damage that ignores defense. So this is like for skills that say that they ignore defense. Certain heroes, say Ezekiel, Apis, Isolette, to name a few, or Esker, have like ignore defense skills that do a lot of damage, and in certain situations this can be really powerful. Especially, again, this is also in a separate layer, so you can like match these together. You can have like 2 of these, or 1 of this, 1 of this, 1 of this, so for instance, and that will have an interesting effect. But yeah, so for heroes who have a lot of ignore defense damage, this can be a very good piece, especially as, again, it doesn't have any other requirements. So if you are, say, running Isolette in Trial of Flow, her most of her damage will be coming from her S2 hitting the boss at a certain time when she usually doesn't have high health. So this would be probably the best piece for that, because her S2 ignores defense, or at least that adds the most damage, really. So that can be a really good piece there. This one then increases damage of continuous damage by 20%. Now there are a lot of heroes, or like plenty of them, who have certain damage over time effects, or dot damage, or continuous damage as Vespa calls it, but only one really stands out here nowadays, and that's Lorraine. Lorraine does like, hard to tell exactly how much, but like most of her damage comes from her dot. The toughest Lorraines in the game actually have like only attack and penetration lines. So again, this skill line for her is very, very powerful. If you are killing or building her to be a boss killer, then it's definitely kind of nice to have her this line. Again, have to measure like how a hero's damage profile comes up. Do they do a lot of auto attacks? Do they have a lot of ignore damage, ignore defense? Do they have a lot of dots, or do they do damage with their skills? Because that kind of has to determine which skill lines you pick or try to build for those characters. Now the other pieces that I still have mostly increase your attack, and to understand how good or bad that is, we have to look at the previous set of gears. And so I've put one of these here. Now this is a nearly perfect Manticore Orb. It has 4 lines of attack, and then an attack enchant that is almost maxed. With that, it has like 48% attack base, and the enchant would put it up to 59 if it was perfect, because 11% should be the max. So yeah, 59 attacks. So this is what you want to compare to the TM gears, provided that you have these, or you can get these. Of course, if you have like no item in the slot at all, then a TechnoMagic gear can be good. It's just that they are very expensive to re-roll the stats on them and to raise up. So you kind of have to consider that before you go into like a piece that has 25 attack on it, you need to consider how much it will cost you to re-roll and upgrade that item to make it useful compared to one of these. It's really costly, and yeah, that's why the other pieces that I'm going to show you aren't as desirable as the ones that I have shown before. Now starting off, there is one marked here, and I think this is the best one, but only in a specific case. Increases attack at the beginning of each battle. This stacks up by 5%. This stacks up 15 times. So altogether 75% attack, but you need to do 15 stages of a battle, and there is only one battle that has so many stages, and that's Eclipse. So this would be a very specific Eclipse piece, but there it gives the most attack. You can have 2 lines of attack on this piece as well, which are 16% both, so 32% plus 75%. So that's 107% attack that you can get from this one, versus the 59 that you would have on a Manticore piece. So yeah, for Eclipse this can be really, really good, but it's only usable in Eclipse. Now let's see the next one. The next one here, upon killing an enemy, increases attack by 2%. Stacks up to a maximum of 25 times. Again, it needs a fight where you are killing a lot of enemies, stuff with ads, or like Eclipse again. Again, Eclipse is really where this would be kind of useful. So that's 50% attack plus 32 from the lines, so 82% attack. That's still a decent increase over the 59 that you have in the Manticore piece. Now let's move on. Let's see the other ones. increases attack by 35% when there is one enemy. And there is a counterpart to this, which we will get to later. Now 35% plus 32% is 67. Sorry, math is hard. So 67%. As you can see, that's barely an upgrade over a perfect Manticore piece. So if you do not have a piece there, it could be worth, and technically it's an upgrade, but like very small upgrade, and again the cost is just super high, so I wouldn't put too much effort in these kind of pieces. That's the reason, really, because the gains are just so small that it's just not worth. I would just save up for one of these that are generally better and will affect your DPS more. We will leave that one for later. Upon every skill, use increases attack by 2%. This effect can be stacked up to a maximum 20 times, so 40% attack plus 32, 72%. Again, a marginal increase, and this needs for you to cast skills 20 times. So the same deal. You get some more attack, but not too much, and it has some cost. Fixes attack speed to 1000 and increases attack by 40%. Again, 72% attack versus the 59. But it fixes your attack speed to 1000. Now there are certain heroes who are not affected by speed, like say Isolate or Crow, so for them this could be useful, but again, very small gain over a Manticore piece, and comes with a serious cost. Not just in increasing, but that now you do not have any attack speed. So yeah, this one is also not great. It can be used, but not great. Let's move on. So this is the other version. Attack increases attack by 35% when there are 3 enemies. Now the other problem with this one and this one is that they are very situational. Like when you have one enemy and when there are 3 enemies, it's just like building a separate piece for these kind of conditions. You have to be really rich and really swimming in materials to have reroll tokens and to just have the crystals to do the rerolling. So yeah, I don't really recommend these pieces. Moving on, it increases attack by 25%. Add that the 32 to it, and you can see that this is actually a downgrade from a Manticore piece. This is why in my video I said that these are not worth, because it's actually less attack than what you would have with a perfectly rolled Manticore. Of course, and Manticore you can get like selectors now, you can build them, so I think it's easier to get a perfect Manticore now than to reroll a perfect TechnoMagic gear. So yeah, I would not recommend this piece at all. Then we have reduces all defense by 25% and increases attack by 50%. The 50 plus 32, that should be 82. So yeah, that's again a decent upgrade over the 59% of Manticore. But again, comes with a serious cost that you will be a lot more like a glass cannon, and for some characters that means death. So kinda on the fence about this one. It could be like reasonably good in some situations, but again, I would still just go for these 2 pieces with the increased damage lines. So yeah, questionable use. The gains are not bad. On this one, they are not bad. Let's see which 2 we have. Okay, so we are back, and these are all the attack ones. So as you can see, they can be upgrades over Manticore, but they are very small and the cost is just way too high in my opinion. That's why I do not like them. Now, okay, so this was the piece we were going for. Increases damage dealt to enemies by 15% for 10 seconds. When mana is at 100%, this effect activates only once every 15 seconds. Now this one is alright, because it gives raw damage increase. And the 10-second duration is alright, because that's the usual burst phase that you get in a lot of situations. The problem is that this is tied to your mana, and it will only activate every 15 seconds. So if you activate it a couple seconds before your burst window starts, then you are losing out on duration. This just makes it very awkward to use, because controlling your mana is really hard. You can't shut down your mana gain on your own. You can just tell your heroes to not gain any more mana, so you can't really time it that well. So using this is just awkward and cumbersome. There are some characters that would be like, that would feel like they should be able to use this. Like Theo has a skill or an effect that ties to his mana. Hilda has that same effect. There is Lilia, for instance. So it would feel like these kind of characters would be able to utilize this kind of gear. But yeah, it's just very cumbersome. It definitely doesn't work too well with auto mode. And yeah, that's why I'm not really recommending it. That's the reason, really, because the damage increase is not bad. It's actually worse than on these two pieces, and it's just tied to this mechanic that you don't really have that much control over. So yeah, that's why I'm not really recommending it. Which one was it? It was this piece, right? No. Sorry, just have to find it. Okay, reduces cooldown of skill 1, 2, or 3. Marginal use. There might be some heroes with very long cooldowns where this might be good. For instance, if you are running a Dark Castle without Priscilla or any other skill reset character, then maybe you could put this on for his skill 3, so he can cycle through his S3 faster and get back to it faster. So maybe in some situations like this, like that, this could be useful. But I think it's very marginal and not necessarily worth building, and again using your resources for. So that's why these pieces are just really marginal. And then there is the soul weapon usage limit +1. Now certain characters have very powerful soul weapon effects, but very few charges on said soul weapons. Sarah, for instance, if you use her in like World Plus 1, because she's your most built DPS, she will run out of charges before the fight ends. Or if you like use Esker in Eclipse or stuff like that, then yeah, this can be useful for a DPS. Again, there are just better options, and the issue is rerolling, that you just do not want to spend your resources on an item that will not be giving you the maximum benefit. And right now, that's these two items, with optionally one of these 3 or this one for attack in Eclipse. So that's why I wouldn't really bother with the attack items, because most of their gains are very small compared to a perfect Manticore item, for which you can get like selectors now, like 2-line selectors, and maybe sometimes you can even get your hands on 3-line selectors. So these type of items are easier to build, cheaper to reroll, and to get maxed, and that's why I feel like I wouldn't really bother with any of the attack pieces. Just save your resources for some of the really good ones, because the others are just not giving you enough gains over Manticore, and that's why I'm saying that you should be using either these two pieces or mix them with one of these, optionally this one. So yeah, this has been it, guys. Really, Galgoria pieces for DPS. I hope you find it helpful. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. And this has been Cloudie for now. See you in the next one. Bye bye.